Hello there. Welcome to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I'm so glad that you're here. I am absolutely thrilled. I had the opportunity to investigate at the Pensacola Lighthouse last night with my co investigator, Lori Dorsey, and things have been missing from my house since we got home. I actually have a coffee pot that disappeared this morning after only a cup being drank out of it, and it's still not here. So, Mark Elliott Fultz, you told me they would bring it back. It has not happened yet. So, I guess I'm going to go to the lighthouse and get my coffee pot. So, I am so excited because tonight's show is going to be great. It's two people that I like a lot. Heather Besser is, no lie, the best medium I've ever ever talked to. And I didn't understand that people could be a medium and not so much psychic, but she really enjoys the medium side and she's very helpful with it. She is out of Texas and she is amazing. My other guest, you all know, he is Rick McCallum. He is a founder of the Hollywood Ghost Hunters. He authored the Paranormal Book of the Year for 2020, Ghosts Believe in Me, playing monsters by day, hunting spirits by night. And his newer book is The Spirits Are Out There and They're Waiting for You. So I'm very glad to be inviting these people in. And we're going to talk about how Heather affected mine and Rick's outlook on some things. So, hello, people. Hey, Heather. Hey, Rick.
Hi.
Hey,
Thank you for being here.
glad to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being had. This is going to be so much fun. And I just have got to break the ice here and say, if you see somebody walking around here with my coffee pot, would you ask them to put it back?
For sure. Will do.
Thank you. But where do you guys want to start? I mean, we can go into the phone call, Rick, that I got from you saying, you're not going to believe this woman is real. She blew my mind. And Heather, you really did. That was the conversation I got. That was how I was introduced to you. Was this woman is eerie and astounding and brilliant and knows things that no person could ever possibly know about what she's being given by the spirits around me. So,
well, that's a really high compliment. Thank you, Rick, for telling her that.
Yeah, but it was all 100% true.
It was 100% true because when you and I spoke, you surprised me by which animal you said was there. It was accurate, but I was surprised that was the animal there with me. You know, you were bringing names forth which were not common names, but were relevant to me. You really are the most gifted medium I've ever spoken to. And I'm just curious, has this been a lifelong gift that you've had, or did something happen to create it?
Yeah, so I've been able to do this my entire life. It was very interesting in school, the first time that I realized I was different because I had no idea that I was different, because I've seen spirits and everything and my spirit guide my entire life. So whenever I was in kindergarten, I was at a Christmas party before we were let out for break. And there was a man standing there and he wanted me to ask my teacher about, the wooden ornament that's on her tree that he made for her. And so I did. And then she freaked out and then my mom got called in. So yeah, so that's whenever I realized I was different. But yeah, it's gotten stronger over the past, I would say probably 4 years. We all have soul groups that we belong to. And just so happens my daughter is in my soul group and she's 4 years old now. And so whenever she was born, the veil really got thin for me. So, and she can actually do it as well.
Really?
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I'm okay with it. I think that I'm glad that she has me as a mom who can, guide her and show her how to do things and when not to say something, because right now it's kind of hard,
Because they
to
don't have
say.
filters.
Yeah, because she'll say whatever she wants to and whatever they tell her to. And, sometimes they can be funny. Whenever we pass away, our personality doesn't go with us. So if they were really funny here and sarcastic, they're going to tell my daughter the sarcastic things. And it's funny because, they laugh and we laugh, but just things that
Not
she
always
shouldn't
the
say.
best for the kindergarten classroom, though.
Yeah.
Is she in pre-K?
She is not in school yet. So we're going to have that conversation probably before next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know that my grandchildren don't have filters. And even with people trying to help them with that, okay. But it really is something that is a surprise, right? When
Mhm.
I have heard children, yeah, I have a grandson that's gifted, and he will talk about who he sees. And at first I was like, I don't I don't know, is that a real thing? And yeah,
Yeah.
and I was actually I was bedbound for a few months a few years ago, and my daughter-in-law was my caregiver. So she would bring the boys with her because one was not in school yet. Well, neither were in school yet. And they would see my dad, and they would see like people. And then my daughter-in-law started seeing people. And they were the people that you saw, that you spoke with. And do you see or do you hear?
Both.
Really?
Yes.
Well, serious about the guy with the coffee pot, because otherwise I'm going to have to go to Walmart when we get off here and get
Will
some.
do. I hope he
Yeah,
brings it back, but I
I hope he
understand.
does too. I think
Yeah.
it's really clever. He took a coffee pot with hot coffee in it.
He was thirsty, I
I
guess.
mean, we really figure he took it back to the lighthouse, maybe for friends to share. But we had lunch with Mark Elliott Fultz today, and he was like, he'll bring it back. And I'm like, I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. With I don't necessarily want that coffee back.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But just something. And there is my ghost hunting buddy in the chat room, Lori Dorsey. And just so y'all know, we climbed to the very top of the Pensacola Lighthouse last night in the wind and the cold with a full bag of equipment for me and an SLS camera for her. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it. So, huzzah. But, they told us to make sure we didn't bring spirits with us because they like to travel with the people. And we did suggest, we're going to get in trouble if you come home with us. You have to stay here. They would miss you so much, they just won't be able to stand it. And yet, somebody did not follow the directions. So,
They're just
yeah.
curious. They just want to see what's going on at your house, probably.
Well, probably. And, we stopped for a hot fudge sundae. We did all the fun things on the way back. So maybe they did want to do that. But Rick,
Yes, ma'am.
you're older than I am. But
That,
thank you.
yeah, but I have a friend who's a Southern girl who has taught me to talk nicely and say sir and ma'am. We
You
won't
lived
say
in
who that is,
Nashville.
but it was Cat Hobson
And you lived in Nashville for a while, so it kind of rubbed off there.
and Texas
And Texas.
and Tennessee.
You your house in Texas, we're gonna have to talk about that some because I bet Heather would get off on that too.
If there was one person that I could take with me there, other than my usual ghost hunters, it would be her.
Yes.
Because that place is, like I wrote in my book, it's the most haunted house in America, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody that's been there, Cash, Vandy, everybody has all just said it's nuts, and it really was. I don't know if it still is. It's a long time ago. It's We moved out of there in 1980. So it's been a couple days.
Well, I would bet that the spirits are still there because, we had talked about when we see people clearing houses, clearing locations, that it doesn't stick because people go back in and reinvestigate and they're getting activity. So I'm sure that even if somebody tried to clear those spirits, they're back because there's a reason they're there.
You can't really clear them. All you can do is ask them politely to leave. And if they want to come back, they come back. I mean, it's their place, not ours.
Well, it was theirs first.
By the way, I have to make a statement. Both Kat and I have done like 50 gazillion ghost hunts.
Yeah.
And we have also had many mediums that we have been with.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, with the exception of a few, Melissa St. Hilaire for one,
Yeah.
Patty Negri for another, and there's others. Most of them, I don't believe them at all.
Yeah, I know
So
that.
I'm not like, oh my goodness, she said a word that might mean something, right? I mean, when we start talking about this, and I tell you what she nailed one after the other, after the other, after the other, it's just spooky,
Yeah.
and in a good way. So, it's I'm really looking forward for us to get into it because I know when I called you up, I said, you have to talk to this girl. Right?
And I'm like, she might not want to talk to me. So
Yeah, but
it was astounding. And one of the things that I think, pardon me, one of the things that I think was the most interesting was that you weren't reading me, Heather. You were reading the people around me, right?
Yes.
That's accurate.
Yeah, because all I do is they come and they talk, and then I just relay the message. It's not my job to interpret anything that they say.
When did you start letting other people know? When did you become comfortable with letting other people know what you do?
I didn't start doing it like for the public until probably a year and a half ago, I guess. Yeah, because I thought, why keep this to myself whenever I could be helping others? I just want people to heal and I want people to feel peace and love. And, if that's something that I can help with, then this is what I need to do.
Yeah. Well, it's really pretty astounding. My father's name is very uncommon. And and you didn't know that was my dad when you said that name. And, and I never feed. I'm just so careful not to feed information. And when you said the name, I was like, I know Gordon. Yeah. And then you proceeded with two other names of people who were deceased, one was related to me, one was related to the other one. And, an animal who would never have been comfortable away from me because she had 4 homes and we were her only safe one. So, but I had recently lost a dog before that and was in the process of losing another. And I felt like the more recently passed one, because of the attachment, would be there. But it was the one that had been physically harmed in so many different places. So that made sense because I've actually seen that dog in spirit in my house. Just walking down the hall and makes the dog leg into the kitchen. And she was a white, she looked kind of husky-ish, but not. She was solid white. And she looked like a Great Pyrenees in miniature. But she had been so malnourished that she probably just didn't grow. So when I see her, she's got all that fluff, but it's translucent, right? And that's the dog that you saw. Her name is Willow. So
It's
That's
amazing that, whenever animals pass over, they can talk, but they talk like toddlers or children, but they can
yeah.
actually talk. I know I've had a full conversation for an hour with a chihuahua named Peanut one time. So, I
Whoa,
mean, it's been fun.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool because I
Yeah.
would give anything, and I feel like I do understand my dogs. I have one right now who is just kind of a freakadoodle dandy, but he was a mini Aussie who was also, I don't think he was beaten or anything, but he was crated, and that makes them crazy because it wasn't, I don't think, to be mean, because the lady seriously was fighting to rehome him, and he was papered and free. Okay. And he's purebred. And, but she had mobility issues and was afraid that he was going to mess her up because he's strong and crazy.
Yeah.
So didn't want a new dog. It was too soon. Got a new dog. So there you go. But that was so amazing because I was not expecting that name, right? But Rick, why don't you talk about some of the things that she shared with you?
Oh, I will. But I had a,
Shows, so-
a question popped into my mind, which is never a good thing.
No,
Heather, have you ever gotten something, while you're doing your things there, that you did not tell the people?
Yes. Yeah, because sometimes they'll say that they're getting ready for somebody to come and they're preparing for somebody to come. And usually that means that, they're going to pass away
yeah.
very soon if they say something like that. And so, I've had people ask me, like, when am I going to die? Well, I'm not ever going to tell you that answer ever, even if I know the answer, because you think that you want to know, but you don't, you know? And so things like that, if they're saying that, I'll just be like, oh, well, why don't you go spend some time, go spend
Why
some
don't you
quality
what?
time.
Why don't you tell them? Why don't you what?
Go spend some time, like some quality time with, their family members or something. I would never say that. And that's, another reason I don't do readings over on air, like on podcast or things like that, because like I said earlier, my job is not to interpret anything, and I don't want to censor them either.
Right.
So if it's something apart from, transitioning into heaven, then, I feel like I need to say it, because otherwise they wouldn't be asking me to repeat them if, it wasn't important to them.
Well, I just have one thing I want to ask. If you ever get anything about me, could you just call up and say, you don't need to wash the sheets this week?
Exactly. I will.
And I'll figure it out from there.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you what she came up with. Now, this is stuff that I had forgotten, had not been put up anywhere, right? She came up with nicknames for my evil stepmother, for my own mother, right? My evil stepmother's name is Vandy, right? Except I don't call her Vandy, I call her the Griff,
Yeah.
right? And she said, oh, there's a message here for the Griff. And she told me a couple names, and I passed them on to Vandy. But the thing that got me, as you well know, Kat, I had a really good friend that was the Laird of Belgony Castle.
I do know that.
And I mean, for some reason, we just had that instant deep bond. And he told me as I was leaving, and by the way, when you told me, you said, there's an older man in Scotland, and I immediately thought of him. And I said, yeah, that's Robert, right? And we put down, you wrote down Robert. Well, I said Robert, but his real name was Raymond. I got it wrong. So, but when I was leaving, he called me over the first time I met him at ghost hunting, and he says, "Can you keep a secret?" I said, "Yeah," and he told me a secret, and I just went, "What?" Right? No, I want to tell everybody. I did imply one for one person that so they would know that there was a secret, and that was Kat, right?
Yeah.
And when I went back a couple of years later, he asked me, he said, "Did you keep the secret?" I said, yeah, I did. And he goes, "Good, because that was only half of it. Here's the other half." Right. And she tells me the man said, "It's time to tell the secret."
It's a
How
big,
in the world could she have known that the man in Scotland is telling me it's time to tell the secret? Right.
because
And
she's Heather frickin' Besser.
well, I just went, "Holy crap." This is not what I was expecting. This girl's real. Right. So that one really got me. And then she put down, I actually saved the notes that she sent me, and she talks about the ceiling, right? Uh, is it possible that she could put up the picture of the guy in the courtyard with the dog? There we
Here
go.
he is.
Oh,
That is Raymond,
And
and
Albie.
that's the guy who told me these secrets. Uh, yeah, we just had the strongest bond for only just meeting. It was last time I saw him, he was on his deathbed, and we were there with some people. And he looked up and he saw me and he recognized me. Now he was in his 90s then, but he was still real sharp. And he reached up and he grabbed my hand and he pulled me down. He said something to me, and I put my hands over my eyes and I said, "I got to go outside. There's too much dust here." Right? So he nailed me really good. But the next thing she said, he's about calligraphy, which he was very well known for his calligraphy, his woodwork, his leather work, and everything else.
He was a
And then
master leather worker.
yeah, and then she said something else that just knocked my socks off. She goes, "Painter, the ceiling,"
Yeah.
and Race has that picture too. If he could put that one up.
Yeah.
oh, nice.
Now, how could you have gotten that?
I've never seen the ceiling before. That's really nice.
Yeah. So
That's
as soon as you said that, I knew that you were talking about Raymond. I knew that he was the one with the secret. And when you said, painting ceilings, I mean, what more evidence do you need that you were honed in on this guy like really, really well?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that just knocked my socks off. That you knew that he had told me a secret, and you knew about the calligraphy, and you knew about the ceiling. It's
Those
just
are all family crests that he painted.
that's all the previous layers of the castle, and they're all the family crests that he painted.
So, Rick, do you remember when we first got on the phone together?
Somewhat, I am old,
Do you remember what you said to me?
What?
It was so funny because Rick and I got introduced through a mutual friend, right? I don't know if we were going to work on a project together. I don't remember how that even transpired. But later on, I called Rick back. I was like, "Oh, I haven't even asked him, if he wanted a reading, And I was like, "Hey, I didn't even ask you, would you like a reading?" And he was like, "Well, I don't even know if I want one because there's been so many people that have been full of crap." And I was like, "If I'm full of crap, you can tell me at any point that I'm just full of crap, and then we can just move on from there."
Ladies and gentlemen, she is not full of crap, not even close.
And I will second that.
Yeah, so no, I was stunned by some of the things that she said to me, and I've got a lot more, but I know she told you a lot too, Kat.
He did. And, like I said, I was really surprised that Willow was the animal because the first thing Heather said when she started was, "You have a lot of animals." I'm like, "I do. And I don't have nearly as many as I have." But yes. So I had a rescue dog that came from the pound named Heidi, who had almost immediately before that had to be put down. She had leukemia, and we did everything that we could. We did transfusions, and we did infusions, and we did everything, but she couldn't get ahead of it. Her cells that were being kicked out into the bloodstream were too immature because it had gotten just beyond being treatable. And I had taken her to put her down. So that's who I thought would be there. Because when we first met at the pound, they opened the door. She came, she jumped on me. She was just like, "Ah, you're here. Where have you been?" And because of that bond, that's who I thought it would be. because Willow had passed years before that. And so Willow was a dog who had been she'd been through 4 homes. She had been seriously abused, malnourished, everything. And she first met gone to a family member's house for a New Year's Eve dinner, New Year's Day dinner. And I heard they had dogs. So when I knocked on the door, there was another voice. And I was like, oh dear, this dog had been pacing. She would not sleep. She would not lay down. She paced until she couldn't the whole time they were fostering her. Wouldn't let them really do much with her, wouldn't mess with the other dogs. And I walked in and I said, well, hello, who are you? Because she's beautiful. And so I patted the top of her head and went and sat down. And she came over and she jumped up next to me and leaned into me. I'm like, wow, where have you been? You know? And my sister-in-law, who is not prone to, you know, a whole lot of, you know, camaraderie kind of stuff, says, that's your dog. You're taking her home. And I was like, I really like being married to your brother, and he's going to have a fit. And she was like, I don't care. I'll come up and fix him. That's your dog. She needs you. She's going home with you. And that dog shook from Gulf Shores to Birmingham. And then I was driving a little Cabrio. I'd just gotten it, and perfect day. Planned on driving home with the top down. Of course, couldn't because of nerves with her. And we had to stop on the side of the road for a while. So I went into a Stuckey's and got a cheeseburger and came back out, and we sat down and we ate a cheeseburger and waited on the car to cool back off. And then she rode like a champ because I fed her. I loved on her. I protected her from the traffic, and we came home. And my daughters were still at home at that time. So they were like, you've got a dog. I said, shh, don't say that out loud as you're dead home, you know? So, yeah, that's how I got Willow, or Willow got me. And when I had to have her put down, that was the worst thing on the planet. Anytime you lose a friend of any kind, it's the worst thing on the planet. But when it's somebody that was there because they needed you so much, sorry. and you need them too. You know, you don't get more than you can handle, and you get what you need. And I'm a dog whisperer. Not so much anything else, really. Horses and dogs. But it was such a precious gift to have a friend like her. So that's why when you said Willow, I couldn't believe that she was still there. And then I thought, how could I not believe that? This was a kindred spirit. And we had obviously known each other in the past. And it's pretty much like that with all of my dogs. So, and if
Well,
you
I've got a good question for Heather.
ask away,
You know, when you're out and about, do you ever pick up on people that are standing near you?
Yes. Sometimes I can be at like the grocery store or something and actually see somebody that I know is not real. Does that
yeah,
make sense? So, but
that
usually,
Well,
I can turn it off.
yeah, it does.
I know. But, you know, I can turn it off and turn it on.
Real.
But turning it off and turning it on, you know, there's times to listen, there's times not to listen. You know, I've had it off this whole time, but if I turn it on, I guarantee someone will come through for somebody, whether they're, you know, you or Cat or, you know, someone else.
how hard is it to turn off?
I just, you know, pretend that there's a lock and I just turn it off. So,
Do that again.
like that.
You turn your third eye off.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody did that this afternoon around me,
Yeah.
and I got the worst headache. I'm like, no, don't do that. Undo that.
Yeah.
So, but that's
Because
weird.
like
The exact same.
I just listened for just a second, right? And so it doesn't even necessarily have to be like you two, obviously, because I call them passerbys. And so passerbys are people that, like, if they know that you
You
know
did that to
somebody.
me.
Hmm?
Yes. You did that to me with Gwen.
Exactly. So this is actually for Lori. It's her Aunt Billy. Aunt Billy is just saying hello, and that's it.
Oh my
But
gosh.
that's just what they do, and then they
Yeah.
just go away. So turn it
That
off.
fast.
That is so cool.
That was fast.
She told me something that really scared me. She goes, "Your mother is in heaven, and she has an album that she shows everybody, and she's so proud." And she says, "And I want you to know she sees everything." And I went, "Everything?"
Everything.
Ma, the Cinderella dress was just a joke.
Well, she's got a picture
No,
of it in
it's
her album
not.
that she shows everyone. So
But you know what she
You
told
have a
me?
tiara.
I have a nickname for my mother, always have, and most people don't know it. She goes, "Your mother is here." And that's what I always called her, Mutter. So, I mean, she nailed that too. And then she told me my grandmother popped in and she goes, "Yeah, your grandmother's here. She wants you to know that your mom and her are playing bingo in heaven all the time."
Yes.
And they were the biggest bingo players in the history of the planet. But the other thing that came out from her that just stunned me is when she says, "And your grandmother says, remember the man in the glass." Right? Now, who would this come to? I mean, who would think this up? I mean, right? But Race, can you show that last picture? I think we lost you. There it is. That was her favorite poem.
Yeah.
And that's my grandma in the picture. The man in the glass. How you knew that? There is absolutely zero way you could have known that. I have never put that up, I don't think, anywhere.
I've never seen it that you've done that.
Yeah.
And you'd only told me that once.
Yeah. It was just actually I made that picture for her because she really liked the thing so much, and I put her behind it, looking at the glass. So the fact that you got Mutter, you got the Griff, you got my grandmother with the man in the glass. I mean, the ceiling painted. It's time to tell the secret. I mean, every one of those were something that was I didn't share with anybody. I mean, if I did share it with somebody, it would have been Kat, right? And I didn't share much of that with her either. So pretty interesting. I mean,
I never knew that she made the picture with her in it.
Yeah, I did. I did.
I knew about the poem.
Yeah,
but
beautiful poem.
It is a beautiful poem.
It's funny, and I don't know if anybody's ever picked up on this. I seem to have one built-in ability, which is the weirdest thing. I have saved probably close to a dozen people's lives during my life, and not as a lifeguard or anything else. It's like running into traffic to save them and all kinds of. I actually picked a girl up over my head so she wouldn't get hit by a car. I mean, but it's just so weird.
Much
I guess.
To her surprise.
Huh?
Much to her surprise.
Yeah, and then she yelled at me, was screaming at me. It was fortunately a cop and a security guard saw what happened and came over and rescued me before she beat me up.
Yeah.
But so it's weird that happens to me all the time. So I can kind of relate that to what happens with Heather. It's not like anything special. It's just what happens to you.
Yes.
That's what makes you Heather.
Yeah.
But I would suggest to anybody who's looking for a real reading, call Heather.
And she's on Facebook. You can find her.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you were talking about the passersby, and what struck me through we'll get to Gwen in just a minute, but my dad's name was Gordon. That's not a common name. And after you told me Willow was there, then you said, and there's Gordon. And because I don't feed, I was like, I know Gordon. Well, Gordon's my dad who had passed away, and I was fortunate enough to be able to stay with him. I've got the best husband on the planet. Um, I spent the last several weeks at my dad's house every day. And then at the end, I was spending the night because I knew it was imminent. And the night that he died, my friend who was caring for him, her name's Tammy, and she's brilliant, came and got me because my stepmother had moved into an upstairs bedroom and I was sleeping in their room. And she came and got me and she said, your dad just died. He can hear you. Get in there. And so that was my first experience with a death, but I wasn't there as it happened. And I thought it was really terrific that he was there, when you were. And the fact that he had, the next name you came out with was Josh. And that was my nephew who was killed. He was 17 and in a car accident. 2 children were killed. 1 child lost an arm, and the kids in the front seat were okay. So it was not unexpected that where my dad was, Joshua would be. The dog with my dad, I thought would be named Max. So that's why when you said, and he said he has Willow. So that was just kind of like, wow. But the dog who had passed before Willow was a Catahoula leopard dog that my dad said looked like he'd been laying up under an old rusty truck. And so they were big friends. So it made me feel good to know that he had Willow because she would need someone. I think that's why I see her in my house is because the attachment, she doesn't know how to go without an attachment to somebody. So him having her explains why I don't see her very often anymore. So that was pretty cool. And then you brought forth another name, and I knew Joshua was with my dad, but the name that nobody would ever correlate to anything to do with me was Scott. Did I even tell you who Scott was?
No.
No. Scott was my nephew's dad who had some addiction issues and died as a result of behaviors that go with that sometimes. And but nobody knew who he was because when he died, he got rolled also. There's no identification or anything. And it was during that heat wave in Chicago when they were doing the Jerry Garcia memorial thing there after Garcia had died and stuff. And so he died and nobody knew it. Nobody knew it was him. And someone called my sister and said, it's Joshua's mom. If you could file a report. And they found him. I think that probably the best thing ever is that not only are Joshua and my dad together, but Joshua and his dad are together. Scott is Joshua's dad. And I do not talk to my sister. I don't even have her number. And you have to call her. And I'm like, no, can't do it. And I did try to find the number, but I'm still trying to find the number. So if she happens across this, call me and I'll take the call. But, or if she's watching this, now she knows and she doesn't have to call. She does know. But, so this is my way of getting that handled for them. But it's really interesting that when you start talking about passersby, it's just wild, because Lori Dorsey is behind that door. I don't know if she is listening because she was going to be watching something while we did the show, but it's weird that that's who came through because she's actually physically where you're looking. So that's
Well, does she have an Aunt Billy? Because
Lori. Lori, if you have an Aunt Billy, type yes in the chat. As we all sit there.
I have a question for you, Heather. Do
you make me
you?
so nervous when you ask that.
She said yes, by the way.
Oh, great.
Actually, she said years, but now she said yes. So
She's not the best typist in the world.
that's true. Well, she
No,
doesn't sit at the desk anymore.
Do you have things come for you? You know, for a reading like they're telling you things about yourself?
Not really, because I never ask anything about myself. You know, I have asked my spirit guide why I can't talk to my own relatives, which is, you know, I don't know why I can't. But she said that her name is Etta, by the way, and she's amazing. She's my spirit guide. She said that if I were to be able to hear my own relatives, that I would never be able to help anyone else because I would constantly be listening for them and them only.
That's interesting.
I mean, but it makes sense because, you know, my grandparents, both of them have transitioned over, and I would be listening for them all the time. But yeah, sometimes, very, very rarely, they'll say something, you know, and for some reason they'll never answer me whenever I ask for like the Mega Millions numbers or anything like that, you know.
They're so weird about that, right?
It's so weird, I know, because I guess they will to pick numbers. I don't know, but you know, they just never do that. But I mean, just sometimes they'll say thank you. Basically, I mean, that's probably the most of it. They'll just say thank you for doing what you do.
Have you ever had somebody walk by and you felt something really strongly about them and you went and told them?
I'm trying to think of like a certain instance because that it gets really tricky, you know, because even like the passerbys that come through, like I told you guys, it's like, how do you make that conversation with someone else, you know, especially like a non-believer or like a skeptic.
Well,
how do you do that?
especially in today's climate?
Yeah.
I mean, because people are not rational a lot of the time. I would not do it if I were you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what?
Like, you know,
I learned my lesson about not doing something with the girl on the pier.
That's true.
I mean, at night, I still kind of break up about it once in a while. I was on a pier in Scotland, and this young girl, about 15, wearing a one-piece black bathing suit, looked like, you know, maybe she was on a swim team, got out of the North Sea and was walking on the pier, which is all rocks. And it was so weird. Her skin was like Pepto-Bismol. And I could tell that she was struggling. She was wobbling and stuff. So I could tell she was suffering from hypothermia. And I used to be a lifeguard. Now I wanted to go over and just start rubbing her extremities to get the, you know, the blood going and everything else. And I thought, I can't go over and start rubbing a 15-year-old girl that I don't know, right? So I watched her as she walked away, and she was struggling so much. I mean, it was breaking my heart. She finally got off the pier, and she turned left. And I've never shown you this, Kat, but this is what she did. As she turned left, she turned this direction, and there was a building there, and she went and started staggering that way.
Yeah.
And that I'll never forget that. Just so that's what I can say. Agree with you when you say sometimes you don't go over there, but if I see that again, I'm going to do it and screw it. Whatever happens, happens. You know.
Well, so like I have my in-laws are actually Methodist preachers, both of them. You know, and they have no idea what I do at all. You know,
they do now.
Me be a stripper than be a psychic, you know, or a medium. Yeah. But I mean, to them, like I know that what I cannot say around them. You know, we don't ever talk about this in front of them because they're just, you know, that's just not how they are. You know, and every time I see my father-in-law, it's always his father who comes through. And his father is always has a message for him, and it's always the same message that would resonate 100% and probably make him feel a lot better, knowing that, he said, what he wants to say. But I just can't. And it's hard, but I could tell my husband about it, but he'll never say anything. So at least I get it off my chest and just tell somebody.
But now, when you were doing my reading, they were adamant that I had to call my sister.
Mm-hmm.
Should you not be that adamant with yours?
I probably could.
Do you feel that you would be judged so harshly that you couldn't be honest with him?
Honestly, probably so.
Really? I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Because he's missing out because of that.
Yes.
On something that apparently is really important that he know. I'm so sorry. That has to be such a rock hard place. There's Heather,
Yeah. But the same thing, I just turn it off. And even though I know, and, I've talked to the spirit that wants to talk to him. And so, we've had conversations and things, and even, he's talked to, so it'd be my husband's grandfather. So, they've talked and everything. And so I think it's okay. And he wasn't, he's not going to press the issue,
Okay.
Yeah.
Because mine were.
Yes.
So.
Well, Heather, you actually did help me solve a problem that had been bugging me for a couple of years. And I don't know if you remember.
This is the secret. You can't do it right now.
What's that?
If this is about the secret, you can't do it right now.
No. Well, he said I could. He told her I could tell.
I meant time-wise because we're going to go to break in 2 minutes.
Oh no, this was. I kept hearing a girl's voice behind me, about 20 feet away, for years, and I kept telling you I heard it. And finally, I asked Heather. I said, "Do you see anything like that?" And she goes, "Yeah, it's somebody named Jeannie or Jenny." And I went, "I don't know any Jennies." And she goes, "From Nashville." I was like, "Well, the girl that passed away's name was Jade." And I said, "No, that's not it." And then I went, "Wait a minute. She was a model. Jade was her modeling name. Jenny was her real name." And I was like, "Ah!" She did it again.
I was calling you constantly. It was good to get that.
Yeah, it was amazing that another psychic that we know, Lee Dunn over in Scotland, he called me up and he goes, "I know who your person is, but I don't know their name." And he just told me, he says, "It's a pretty blonde girl from Nashville and she's very religious." And I knew what he was talking about. Yeah. And I said, "Well," he goes, "She just wants to give you a message." I said, "What is it?" She goes, "Tell him that there is an afterlife." Because we used to talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
Now I'm really worried.
Yeah, when you get to that life review, dude, it's going to be interesting.
It's all right. Y'all are both going to heaven, so it's fine.
Thank you. On that one, we're going to break because I'm going to put that in my little, promise bank. So everyone, we'll be back at the top of the hour. Y'all come back too. We'll see you then.
Debbie Ziegelmeyer is an experienced diver, dive trainer, and UFO investigator who has researched sites around the world that have water-related UFO activity. We now know that even the Pentagon admits that there are unknown objects in the skies and underwater around the world. Debbie compiled an amazing book to catalog many of these sightings. The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, a reference guide to UFO, USO, water-related activity, has received rave reviews by UFO researchers and the public. The book is available at Amazon.com.
we alone in the universe? The most important question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. The Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
While most near-death experiencers return to this plane of existence with alluring tales of their time spent in the presence of the divine, what happens when one crosses the veil into the afterlife, into the void? In the new book, Dying to Meet Them, Mindy Toutfest describes her journey to the afterlife after a devastating aneurysm, how a strange turn of events would lead her to spiritual growth, divine healing, UFO experiences, and a greater understanding of the universe. Get your copy of Dying to Meet Them today at Amazon.com or visit unxmedia.com for more information on this book and more amazing selections from UnX Media Publishing at unxmedia.com.
Welcome back for the second hour of Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I am coming to you live from my southern location. I love it. I hope you like it too. But, I am so glad that you are here tonight because we have been having a really neat, really interesting conversation. My guests tonight are Heather Besser, who is truly a beautiful psychic, medium. She's primarily medium because I asked. So anyway, and I experienced it too. And my other guest tonight is Rick Mccallum, who is somebody that Heather has also impressed greatly, and who is the founder of the Hollywood Ghost Hunters. He is the author of the Paranormal Book of the Year for 2020, Ghost Belief, Playing Monsters by Day, Hunting Spirits by Night. And also, I just blanked, Rick.
The spirits are out there and they're waiting for you, Kat Hobson.
Yeah.
And you
I
have
know
it.
somebody found my coffee pot, so that's all.
Did they really?
It hasn't come back.
Oh.
And
You
I said
found it.
somebody found my coffee pot. And Heather, I'm serious. It was a hot pot of coffee. I'd taken one sip out of it. And when I went to refill it, the pot was gone. Literally gone.
It's in
So,
the freezer.
no, we've been through the freezer. I mean, this is not a huge cottage. I have been through everything. Lori has been through everything. We even left to go to Pensacola for a little while today and, you know, met with Mark Elliott Fultz, brilliant, brilliant psychic, host of Universal Truths. And he said, well, it'll be there when you get home. They're just messing with you. I figure I'm going to have to go to the lighthouse tomorrow to get that weird new coffee carafe that showed up in like one of the locations that I investigated last night. So it's somewhere. Everything is somewhere. My grandfather used to say that all the time.
I know that
Especially-
sometimes, like whenever they take my spoons and stuff like that, they're always in my bedroom.
Well,
Sometimes.
I mean, I'm going to get in the bed with a pot of coffee if
You
that's
never
the
know.
case.
Yeah.
Well, I actually, I pulled the covers back on the bed thinking maybe they had put something there. I've been under the bed. I've been in the closet, in the top of the closet, every one of them. I've been in every opening or cabinet or surface in this place. There is no carafe here. And that was before I left and when I came back. It's the strangest thing that's ever happened to me. And I find it not nearly as funny as they do.
I think the strangest thing that ever happened to you was becoming friends with me.
I would agree with that. Lori also pointed out in chat that since we got home and I started being a little bit more vocal about bring that back, we found 3 white feathers in the house. And they were not here when we left because I don't have anything with feathers here. So there's that.
Well, I'm sure they probably think it's hilarious.
I know they do because I'm going to go and buy another one.
Yeah, and then that one will show back up. So
Yeah. And then I'll just take that one home with me.
Heather,
So,
have you ever been on a ghost hunt?
I have.
what did you think and experience? That's a great question, Rick.
Yeah. I
Rick is
love them.
actually interviewing you tonight because he's beating me to everything here.
Yeah,
That's
well,
okay.
That's great. But yeah, I
That's
love ghost hunts. They're very active all the time because you never know who's going to come through. Whether they're the spirits that have some interest in that area, or if it's going to be spirit guides or soul group members or just family. Or I mean, there's always going to be something all the time.
Yes.
What's really weird is like there's always a lady in the white dress everywhere that I go.
Really?
It's so weird.
What is up with that?
I have no idea. That's
I mean-
sarcasm. I know.
Well, but in certain periods of time, people are buried in hell. So, but that's not always the case because I know at least here in the South, we go out and buy a nice burying dress. I mean, put her in with that $75 brand new dress. It'll be great because she's not going to be wearing that wherever she goes. Although, do we really know that?
Well, I know, like my spirit guide, whenever I see her, she usually wears like her one dress that she has because she really likes it. But I've seen her wearing other things as well. So they have different outfits, or I don't even know. They can just come as whatever they want to do.
That's just so bizarre.
That is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. Makes me feel like I want to start a GoFundMe for different colored dresses for the girls.
Yeah.
She probably appreciate that.
Yeah.
Or a
But I
different,
also think that she doesn't need to go fund me to dress the way she wants to.
Well, I'm going to make a suggestion here that Kat Hobson invites you to go ghost hunting with us.
yeah, I
Yes.
would love to, for sure.
See, I would do that, but then your husband might throw a rock at me or something. So Kat, invite Heather
He
to
would go
come.
too. He loves it.
He can come
That would
too.
be awesome. My husband won't go.
Mine either.
I know, right?
Well, maybe you need to put on that Cinderella dress, Rick, first, and get you a man.
Yeah, that's only on Saturdays. We don't want it to be silly.
No, like with my husband, I didn't tell him I could do this until after we were married.
And how did he react?
I think that he thought I was joking, until I spoke with his mother. And then it was all real.
Right. Well, it became real for me.
Me too. I mean, you're talking to two people right here that are very hard to convince,
Yes.
right? Because we've been around the paranormal for a long time, especially me. You Cat's not that old. I'm like old enough. I've been around since the Dead Sea was only sick. So I mean, I've been here a long time.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot to impress us, and boy, you knocked it out of the park.
You really did. And, what was really interesting to me was that you weren't sure what I was expecting, and I wasn't sure what you could bring, right? I knew what you had done with Rick, but, and a lot of people get frustrated because they have so much trouble reading me, but you were not. And that's what I think really blew me out of the water initially, was the fact that boom, 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 boom. Once you got comfortable, and I think maybe you were afraid of me judging or something, because you weren't very comfortable at first.
Well, the thing is, like, before every single reading I do, I get so nervous. And I'm just like, this is it. This is the time. I've lost it. I don't have it anymore. I can't do it. And then I get so nervous, and then they start coming. And then, I'm like, okay, I still got it. But
Yeah.
it doesn't even matter. I get so nervous.
Well, I understand being concerned that, oh my gosh, what if this is the time? I get that. But when we got on the phone, I was as open as I've ever been, really, because of who referred me to you. And the first thing that, I guess, after you finished reading Rick and his area, I get a call. You have got to talk to this girl. You have got to get a reading from this girl or this woman. And I'm like, who is she? What are we talking about? But you created such an impression on Rick. And as he said, he, because of his notoriety, me, because I can provide a promotional outlet of the sort, right? And people come to do things like that. And so while I knew what you were, because I can feel you too, um, the fact that this man was so blown away when that never happens, okay, I knew you were special. And I was really honored when you were like, well, I don't know, do you want a reading? And I was just like, well, I don't know, do you want to do one? Because I didn't want to assume that was going to be all the conversation was about, because I was really interested in talking to you and understanding you and how you do what you do. And that was my complete eye-opening moment, that what you do can be done. Because even having been around gifted psychics, I don't think every psychic is a medium. Okay. I can know things. I can know things about people. I can know things about something that's going to happen. I just do that. And I can read energy. So I can read intent. But I can't hear dead people, except for very, very, very rarely. It's happened maybe 5 times in my life that was like audible. And so when we started, I was just like, okay, So she knows I have dogs. That's not a secret, right? But I have not said anything about Willow for 5 years online. I have, I'll post pictures of dogs, but I don't necessarily name them if there's more than one dog in the picture, right? So it was really, you know, very interesting. And we have Yolanda in chat that says, when you know, just know I do that. That's pretty cool. So, it's really fascinating to me. And then when we started talking and I knew that you were kind of nervous, I was like, oh, did I make her nervous?
No, I made
I hope it wasn't something I said.
no.
But yeah, but I didn't know. You didn't know what I was anticipating. I didn't really know what you wanted to bring. And it turned out to be just really a great experience. And because of your, not only just your gift, okay, but because of you, I respected that while you were nervous, you still called and wanted to talk. And I just enjoyed our conversation aside from the other stuff. It was a good blend. And I think that anybody that can do what you do, it's got to be trippy.
Oh, it is.
I mean, even now, right? You've done this forever and it's still, and you still worry.
Yeah.
You know
do,
what
and I mean-
I'd be interested in knowing what was the most amazing one to you that you've done.
So I've talked to JFK before, so that was pretty interesting. But I think the favorite, I don't want to say my favorite spirit because they're all my favorites. It seems like, like I talked to somebody because if we're talking about spirits and everything, to you, Kat, and to you, Rick, it's like I know so much about you that we sort of become family almost for just a few minutes, and like that relationship and that friendship lasts for a long time. And there's no such thing as coincidences. People meet for a reason, and who knows what the reason is. It's just to be friends or just to meet people or, but I don't even know where I'm going with this right now because there's somebody coming through and it's like, they're just like beating on the door. So sorry, I get lost in like.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is, I think it's for a race. It is Frances, and she's talking about how she plays the piano for Buddy. Buddy is a black dog.
Oh.
But she is very like demanding. She's very beautiful. She has dark hair.
That is Grace.
She's just beautiful. I'm sorry, Rick, what was your question again? My bad.
No, I said, what was the best one, the one that affected you the most?
Yeah. So we went to the Myrtles Plantation, Louisiana, and had a wonderful, wonderful experience over there with the spirit named Angelica. And she just does not like the story about the spirit that's supposed to haunt the place. We won't say any names or anything, but the spirit that's supposed to haunt the place, she gets so angry at that because it's like, no, like this is not how it goes at all, but after talking to her and everything, I mean, she was very kind. But I think that every spirit that I talk to leaves some impression on me, because it just makes me feel good knowing that they feel good, and they're able to communicate with someone that they love. So I don't really have a favorite.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Well, I wanted to share with y'all that Yolanda in chat said that she believes it's the energy you give off. It's the people you ask to be here with you to experience Earth, your time here on Earth. And she says that she's still learning, but everything happens for a reason. There's no coincidences. And I do agree with that. I actually responded.
That's true. Yeah.
And, it's something. Race recently lost his lab too. So that's why I know that was for Race. And Race, I love you, man. I hope you're okay with having heard that. It sounds beautiful. So, and he, that was his baby. That was his buddy. So that's very cool. I'm glad that you brought that out because
Well,
it has to be very comforting, you
Be
know.
careful. You never know what she might bring out.
Well,
exactly.
everybody
Let's
knows.
get into Rick's secrets.
Okay,
No.
here's Race. Here's Race. You okay, man?
Yeah. Frances is my mother that I lost to COVID 3 years ago. I actually left Utah, moved home from Paradise because I felt like I had to get back here. I got back here in April. She passed 2 days before her birthday in November. And I've had animals all my life, but Buddy, I had a bond with him that I'd never had with any other animal, with any other canine, ever. I hunted on 12 years. He died of cancer of the throat, and he suffocated right in front of me in the next room. And he was the most beautiful black, half lab, half bloodhound you could ever imagine. And to hear that,
Well, he's doing amazing. Your mom is playing piano for him. I don't know if you like to play
our
piano.
piano is in my living room. I demanded that we get it. That's the only thing. Not the grandfather, not anything else. Just that. That's. I grew up with my mother playing that piano, that grand piano, and to hear that, Heather, was. I mean, I'm just sitting back here, la la, and then two of the most powerful, emotional beings of my life that I've lost recently are doing well. That was wonderful to hear. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And so you also have someone else coming through for you saying that it's okay, buddy. It's okay. It's somebody named Lee.
Oh my God, Lee
Spiegel. Yeah, Spiegel.
Heather.
But he's saying it's okay. It's okay.
I told you. You're going to knock your socks off.
That's
He was a dear friend of mine. It was one of those he was one of those people in your life, like a brother and a parent, kind of like some people have sisters and mothers, like friends and brothers and fathers. He was one of those mentors and brotherly figures to me. And I've been in radio a long time, and he was one of those who had been in radio years ago. He did WNBC in New York for many, many, many years in the paranormal, one of the first, to do it like that. And one of his listeners made him a little doll that looked just like him, little beard and headphones and a little microphone, and he's holding one of those cue cards, the Edge of Reality Radio, and he's got one foot pair of jeans on and one foot up on his knee. And when he passed away, his wife, she sent that to me because he had told her the story about how much I loved it when we were on Skype years and years and years ago in his apartment in Queens, and he showed it to me. I had a listener make me some desktop name tags for the station that I had built, and one, had the call letters and it had my name, and I showed it to him, and he goes, "Look at, one of my listeners made me this." And I told him, I said, "Lee, when you cross over, I want that doll. I want that little figure." And he told her that story, and she remembered it, and I got it in the mail. And when you said that, I was looking at it. I was sitting here. It's on bookshelf right here in my studio, and I swear on all I love, I was sitting here looking right at it. Just the moment before you said that. That's awesome. That's awesome, Heather. That's you.
Completely my pleasure. I didn't do anything. They're the one with the message. I just repeat what they say.
Yeah.
It's all them. They're amazing.
Oh my God. Now I'm just going to go away and bawl out loud. Okay. Thank you
Ray,
so much.
my condolences on your losses, but it's nice that you got to talk to them.
Thank you, brother. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They never truly leave, you know, like the term dying, like someone died. I never use that. I always say they transition over because they never truly die. You know, we always live on. Our soul is our body. You know, this is just a capsule that we're in here on earth, but our soul lives on. Our soul never sleeps. You know, that's why we go places at nighttime and not even realize that we're doing it.
Right.
You know, but with people who come through like that, like his mother and, you know, his dog and his friend, that they know when to come through, and they know when to comfort, and they know when to, you know, because they never leave. They're always around us. You know, it's not just black and white. There's so many colors in between, and we just have to figure out how to see those colors.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know what I find really interesting after telling you how wonderful Heather is?
What's that?
She's had readings for both of the people that are involved here, Laurie and Race.
Yeah.
And she was 100% right on both of them.
Yeah. And this is what I really like, is that you were not comfortable with opening up here tonight. You weren't going to do it. And the fact that you allowed that to happen touched two people that I love, that I think are really special. And thank you for doing that, because I know that wasn't what you wanted to do. And for whatever reason, you did.
Yeah. Well, completely my pleasure.
Well, now y'all see what she does, right? Now you see why she knocked my socks completely off, and it was cold. So I wasn't in flip-flops. So it really wasn't.
Now her feet are cold.
Yeah, that's all right. I've got
Yeah.
those.
You know, Heather, there is a saying in stunt business, and it's a thing that's just going to hit you so damn hard. We call it a slobber knocker, because it knocks the slobber right out of you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this has done today.
It is what it's done today. And
so, yeah.
Rick,
Yes.
when you first talked to me about Heather, you were still so wigged out, blown away, astounded, take your pick. And because I know you so well, it was really something that when you said, you've got to talk to this woman, you've never done that. I've been doing paranormal experience for 10 years. We've been friends for about half of that. And, you know,
we've been friends longer than 5 years.
Well, I mean, but only because when we met.
Oh, okay.
We knew each other when we met. And it's very odd because that happens sometimes, you know. And it's like Lori in chat, that is somebody that I haven't known for decades, but when she does past life, she likes her past life regressions, and I'm always there. And so it does become soul family, right? But when you open up and do these things, you really are just truly astounding. And of course, they are too, because they're, as you say, they're who bring you the message, but they know the right conduit to do that. And when you are, because sometimes when I'm open, I don't even realize it. And I get told that, my aura is just strong. The energy emanating is strong and that captures attention. Is that what you do when you turn off and on?
I just mentally turn it off. I don't know. I've just always done it since I was a kid.
Right.
Just turn it off like that. But yeah, but they know exactly where to go. They know exactly, what to say to get my attention and things like that. And so they know when I have it open, it's like they're standing in line now serving number 23.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that freaks me out. And my mother, I didn't find out my mother was a medium until right before she died. I had gone and gotten her, took her out to lunch. And so we're talking about my shows because she had Alzheimer's and things were always new. And so we were talking about my shows. And I said, well, yeah, I host Paranormal Experienced. And before I could move on, she was like, really? That's amazing. Don't you hate it when they line up along your bed and you're trying to go to sleep and they are just there? And I was like, I did not know you experienced that, And she was like, well, I did, especially when I was little. And I would get tired and I'd tell them that you're going to have to go talk to my mom. I'm going to sleep. So I found out that both my mom and my grandmother were mediums and they talked about it with each other. Nobody ever talked about that with me. And I always, before I knew these things, I always used to laugh and say that my grandma was New Age before there was New Age because she was obviously metaphysical of some type. And all I knew was that I knew things I wasn't supposed to know, right? Or things I had no way of knowing. And when I met people, I knew whether to befriend them or run screaming down the hall. I mean, I'm good with that. But it had never dawned on me that this was something that was an inherited trait. Is anybody else in your family psychic that has opened up to you about it like that? Like you are?
Her daughter.
Shit. Well, I know her daughter, but I mean, where did you get that?
Well, I think maybe my gift is the strongest in my family, but I think that they have, gifts as well, whether it be seeing full body apparitions or UFOs or things like that. I remember my grandmother's sister was saying that their mother was a bruja, which was a Mexican witch,
Right.
and she would do like all these things, and I don't do that, but she could do all these things. And I remember talking to my grandmother about, I had went over to her house and my uncle was over there with me and we're about to go to another family's house for a reading, like a group reading with somebody. And she said, so what are you guys doing over here? I was like, oh, well, I'm about to go do a reading. She's like, you're going to read them a book? And I was like, no. I was like, I'm going to go talk to some dead people. And she sat there and she goes, dead people? Heather, I don't think I tell anybody that you could do that. And I was like, I'm sorry.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
But I mean, people I think it's more my maternal side that can do it.
I think it goes that way.
Yeah. So, with my daughter, she's going to be way better than I am, which is going to be amazing.
I would find it hard for somebody to beat you in this.
Last week, or actually week before last, we went to go visit my aunt in the hospital. She was just there for something, stupid, like a little procedure or whatever. And so I just wanted to go say hello, like we were thinking about you,
Yeah.
So we went over there and my daughter goes up to her and my aunt says, hello, like, how are you doing today? My daughter grabs her hand and says, you're going to die. And I was like, yeah, I didn't know what to say. And she goes, what? She goes, no, I'm just in the hospital. My daughter's like, no, silly, you're going to die. And so that's one of those things. It's like, I wish that I could read my family, because I would be able to hear. So I'm not sure who was telling her that, whether that be my grandparents or, someone else on her side of the family. But I will say that last week I had to go to a funeral.
Get the heck out.
Wow.
Yeah. Horrible. It wasn't even for the hospital. She had said that it was going to be a wreck, and it was.
Oh my
We
God.
we have to find a place to get Heather to go ghost hunting with us.
Yeah, anywhere. We can go to Rick's apartment.
We could take her to Scotland. You don't want to hunt in his apartment.
No, there's a lot of stuff goes on in this apartment.
I
I don't
know.
want to know. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but I mean,
While
he
you're in
does
your bedroom.
do it here.
No, not like that. I've actually had the landlady run out of my apartment twice because she saw a big black shape walk through the back bedroom. My nephew, when he was 6, I was wrestling with him, and all of a sudden he stood up. And you know when kids get really scared, how they put their hands in front of them and just stiffen up? He's looking behind me, and I said, "Johnny, what's wrong?" And he goes, "Uncle Rick, a man just walked right behind you." So I said, "I'm going to go look." And he goes, No, don't go. He's terrified. And I said, "Gianni, if a man walked behind me, I got to go look." And he looks at me for a minute. He goes, "I'll go with you." So I knew I was okay because I had 6-year-old backup muscle. Right? So, but a lot of things have happened in this. A lot of things have happened in here. So I don't know if that's just me, because when I go other places, it happens. The scream at St. Andrews, for instance, it's just. So I guess we all, probably all three of us, get the same kind of stuff you do, but in a different way.
In different ways.
Yeah, like I get things screaming and coming near me and things like that. You hear people talk to you, and
See, what would be really fun was doing a ghost hunt, but allowing other people to join in on our ghost hunt with us,
Oh, yeah.
so they can experience a real ghost hunt with real people.
Yeah.
It's really fun. This guy Lee Dunn, who's, like I said, he's a medium in Scotland that goes with us a lot, and we were in this one place, and this told me he was the real deal, called the Torwood toll booth, and it was at Cool Ross Palace, right? Which is a great place, isn't it, Kat?
I love Cool Ross.
But we're up there, and this place is supposed to be one of the most haunted places in Scotland. And we're there for about a half an hour, and Gregor looks over, who's one of the heads of Scottish Paranormal. He looks over at Lee, and he goes, "Lee, are you feeling anything?" And he goes, "No."
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there.
Well, they don't keep on schedules. Well, that's not true. Some of them do, but they're not. The better word, I think, is they're not trained animals. They're not trained performers. When you're dealing with spirit, whether human or inhuman, they have their own agenda and their own reasons for interaction. If it is cognizant spirit.
Well, that's one of the things I like when we're actually ghost hunting, when there's a psychic or a psychic medium or something like that. Like Melissa St. Hilaire, who you know. She's the same way. She'll say, "I'm feeling something here," and we'll go in the other room. I said, "Is there anything in here?" "I don't feel anything." And we just keep going. So, I mean, that gives them, to me, a lot of validity, because I've been with some that find something in every single room. If you open a drawer, there's something in there. I mean, it's just, come on now.
Well, for some, like with Lee that time, to actually say, no.
It's just straight as can be. No.
I mean, I respect that, because psychics aren't performing animals either.
That's what I mean. That's why I liked him. And that's what I liked about Melissa. No, nothing's happening,
I think there needs to be a caveat that says, if you are going to go to someone who claims that they're a psychic or a medium, always have some sort of referral to go on, because, a lot of these people that you see on the street are just performers for entertainment purposes only. And so just please be wary about giving your money to people who are just going to tell you generic things, about there's an older lady who says that she loves you. Like, please don't do that. Just please watch out.
Well, and if somebody starts out like that, then it's time to go.
Well, I have to tell you one thing. I've told this to Kat before. When I was in Scotland, they brought us a psychic medium along with us. And he gave me a ride home. Very nice. We got along great. And he goes, "So what do you think?" I said, "You want an honest answer?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, I grew up around carnivals and stuff, and I've seen a lot of carnival hypnotists, and they were all better than you. So I've been known to be a little blunt on occasion, but I mean, the whole day got ruined because of this,
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's terrible that people are like that, whenever there are people who truly want to help others, and then there's people who just want to take your money. So just please be wary.
Well, my thing with what I do here, I will get people that, want me to interview them. They've written a book they want me to review. They want, whatever. And I'm like, well, if you'll send me a PDF, I'll read it. Or, can you show if you are really somebody that's, when I met you, we weren't even planning on necessarily doing this right away, right? We were just communicating. Rick had set us up to have a conversation, and then bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, stack, stack, stack. There it all came, and I'm blown out of the water. And and then speaking of passerbys, you're like, and there's a Gwen. And I'm like, I don't have a Gwen because I don't. And so you said something about a travel buddy, and I'm like, oh, that's my friend Allison's mother. I haven't talked to Allison in a few years. I mean, there's love and respect. There's nothing wrong with our friendship other than distance and
Life.
our lives just took different location paths, right? So we don't see each other all the time, but we raised our children together. And Gwen was Allison's mother. And Gwen was like, tell Allison I love her and that I'm always her travel buddy. And so that was almost as hard as the initial instructions from the others, because Allison is a financial person who is very logical and very, and I sent her a Facebook message and said, I hope you're not offended, but your mom was here. And she said that she loves you and she'll always be your travel buddy. And I never heard back from Allison because then I got hacked and banned and whatever, right? So it was just so odd that was the person who came. But I had great love and respect for her mom. I thought she rocked the world. I looked for 5 years trying to find one of those chocolate oranges, the they're out at Christmas, because Alice's mom loved those.
Terry.
I loved Alice's mom. I looked for years trying to find those. They quit selling them.
Oh, they sell them at Christmas time. They're called Terry's. And trust me, I find them and I stuff them in my little chubby face every Christmas time.
Well, I couldn't find any here. So, but I was.
Rite Aid has them. Rite Aid has them. Walmart has them. But you gotta hunt.
I did hunt. Because I really, really loved that woman, and I wanted to find her a chocolate orange. And I looked every Christmas for like 3 or 4 years. And
this year I'll send you one. How's that sound?
Well, she's passed away. That's why Heather was telling me about her.
Well, that's terrible.
She can still have one.
Well, I'm sure she can find them where she is.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but I'm also equally sure that she knew I was hunting for them. So
I have to tell you, I'm very happy the way this show has gone, because I've been telling a lot of people about how amazing Heather is.
Yes.
I mean, I called you and told you how amazing Heather is.
Yes.
And not only did we get to relay our stories, she proved it right here on this show.
Yes, she did.
So you know what I say? Go Heather!
Go Heather!
Well, thank you so much.
But Rick?
Yes.
Now's your time.
My time to tell the secret?
Your time to, we have a question in chat, then you can. Yolanda is very interested. She is like training in this herself, learning what she can do. And she says she loves hearing the story. Everyone has one. And she had also asked about a reading, and we decided we weren't going to do that. The ones that have happened were just organic. So, but she did want to ask you a question. And is it odd when you think you know something and then you see it? And is that a sign that you know?
Yes.
She also said, "Go, Heather."
Oh, thank you, Yolanda. So, I mean, it's always nice, especially like whenever I'm doing a reading with somebody in the passerbys, because it's like, sometimes they're like, I don't know. Like, I don't know a Gwen. I just don't know. But it's always nice to get that confirmation later on. That's why whenever Lori's Aunt Billy came through, I was like, does she have an Aunt Billy? Because I'm like, oh God, this is it. This is the time I'm going to be wrong. And I have buddies who are like, why do you even think that? Why do you think that you're going to be wrong? There's no reason you need to get nervous. Just do it. I'm like, I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, it is. I mean, it's odd, but it's also very fulfilling, that I get to finally know what the truth is, And I always tell my husband, I'm like, I might not say anything, but I be knowing,
Well, it's a great gift that you have. I mean, look at how, in a good way, you affected race tonight.
And see, and that's what I love about it. And that's, this is a gift that's been given to me, and I choose to, pay it forward, the gift to someone else. Because if I can make someone, know that you are going to see your loved ones again, you are going to be able to talk to your family, that they're not gone. They're just in a different physical realm that we can't, that most people can't see. And, we're here, but they're always around. They're always going to look for you. They're not going to lose their personalities. The things that they love to do, they're still going to do them, So it's very nice.
That is very nice. I'm just so thankful that Rick connected us, because on top of everything that you do, you're really awesome.
Oh, thank you.
I told you too. I said she's also a very sweet person. So maybe that's why they come to you, because of your personality. Maybe. That's probably why I don't get any that come to me.
Oh my God.
We don't want to talk to that. We don't want to talk to that.
But thinking about it, like the premonitions that you get, and like the feelings that you get from other people, and that's all given to you some way or another from the other realm.
Yes.
And so it's like, how is that message coming to you? And I always say, your spirit guide is always around you. So always talk to your spirit guide. Ask your spirit guide what their name is. Talk to them. In a good way, the first name that comes to mind, you ask what their name is, and they'll give it to you. But you cannot second guess yourself. Don't think about it. Just go with whatever they say, and then continue to talk to that person. But it's like, if you're ever driving in the car and you're doing something mundane, like washing dishes or laundry or whatever, and all of a sudden you get some thought and you're like, why am I even thinking about this?
Yes.
That's not you. That's someone else talking to you. Now, if you think about a past one, a loved one or a family member that's passed on, if you have the thought, then that's usually them talking to you, because they'll give you signs and let it be known, like who it is. But if you just get the thought out of nowhere and no one else comes to you, then that's usually your spirit guide. So Yolanda, if you're going on a journey, I would love to talk to you more, because I actually, offer classes and things like that, and how to get in touch with your higher self.
Well, I will tell you a story. Kat knows about this. She's actually seen the video. When it was raining out here so badly, the ceiling cracked here in my bedroom right behind me. And it was about that thick, and water was just pouring through it. So I had all these big plastic things for clothes underneath, trying to keep the girl downstairs from getting rained out. And I took seriously over 100 gallons of water out and threw it in the tub. But I went in there and I looked up and I was videoing it, and I said, this thing's going to fall. And I turned around, and all of a sudden you kind of see these, just the camera and everything else stumble. And then you hear boom, and the whole ceiling fell in behind me. and I swear something pushed me out of the way. Just by the way you can see the camera and the whole stumble, and there would be no reason for me to be stumbling on my own carpet walking out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe that. I told Kat, I said my next book I'm going to call it "My Guardian Angel Just Called for Backup."
Yeah. Your guardian angel needs backup, my friend.
Yes.
Truly. You know, tell people how they can get your classes, because Yolanda is very excited because she says she has clairvoyance, claircognizance, and clairsentience.
And sadly, like I'll have to look up those words to see what they mean, because this is just, it all comes to me.
Clairvoyance is the knowing.
Okay.
Your cognizance is also knowing, and clairsentience is feeling.
Okay, nice. So you can either get with me, find me on Facebook, Heather Besser. There's also Medium Heather Besser, mediumheatherbesser@gmail.com. And if that all fails, you can reach out to Kat and she'll get you in touch with me.
I will.
And there's also a picture that Heather Besser is supposed to send to me, which I haven't gotten yet.
I did send it.
With the T-shirt on?
I did.
We need.
Now I got to pull it up.
We need the secret, Rick.
Okay, when I first brought up about the secret with the Laird of the thing, when he first told me, because I had expressed a big thing, and you've seen this, Kat, because you've been to Balgoni. Yes. There are influences of the Knights Templar through the entire castle.
Everywhere.
Yeah, all over the place. And I've always been obsessed with the Knights Templar ever since I was a little kid. So I told him that, and we were talking about all the different things that were in there. And then when he calls me over and he goes, "Here's the secret." And I can't remember the exact number, but he said there's 237, I think he said, living Knights Templar in the United States. And I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "How do you know that?" And he goes, "Because I'm in charge of them."
Oh, wow.
So the next time I went back, he said, "That was only half the secret." I said, "There's more? How much more do you need than that?" And he said, "They're all over the world." Right? I said, "Wow, that's something." He goes, "And I'm in charge of them." So I was actually speaking to the Grand Master of the Living Knights Templar.
Yes.
So I mean, that's really something. And I always thought, okay, he's getting older, maybe he's just thinking that and stuff. But it was actually, they talked in his obituary about the Knights Templar, and that he'd, so it was, it was let out. But amazing secret, right? I mean, it was unbelievable.
Well, that is, if you, Heather, you saw the ceiling, okay, but there were Templar flags. There were
swords everywhere.
There were swords everywhere. There were the doors that he carved. Okay, he lives in Scotland. It's cold. The winters are boring, I'm sure, when you're trapped inside. And this man carved massive wooden doors. They're lions and they're Templar crosses. There's symbolism throughout the entire woodworking. There's it was astounding. And
there's also Templar flags everywhere, and paintings up and almost everywhere, including the chapel and the chapel waiting area.
The dining hall. The dining hall was full of Templar flags and Templar.
Yeah, a lot of Templar flags. So, I mean, it wasn't a stretch to think this guy might have something to do with it. If you just walked in, you're like, wow. And by the way, Kat, we are going to one of the last known Templar temples, and what would you call that? Their not clubhouse, but where they all gathered.
Yes, their lodge.
Yeah, so we're going to go see that in when we get to go to Roslyn.
I'm so excited.
Now, see, I just wish we had underneath the arm carrying Heather over there. All right.
I know, right?
That'd be
And then
amazing.
get behind her and go. Go.
Wind her up, set her free.
Wind her up and turn her loose.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited about that. But one of the things that I have learned about Heather is that we can call Heather if she
Yeah.
cannot break away from that precious 4-year-old and her wonderful husband. And she can probably talk to the Laird.
Well, he came through for one time already and said, tell the secret.
Yeah.
And he's the only one that told me a secret, so it had to be him.
Yeah.
Where do you live in? You don't have to tell me exactly, but you live in Texas?
Yes.
Yes.
I used to live in a house that was between Fort Worth and Arlington, which I swear is the most haunted house in America. And I'm thinking about going back there someday. And if I can actually get this guy to let me in, Heather,
Yeah, let's go. I'm ready.
Can you come on and play? Cat, use your air miles. Get out here. Where's Mikey?
I used my air miles to get to Scotland this trip. So.
And I guess we have to invite Lori. Christ.
Lori and I could road trip. It's not that far a drive. It's just a boring drive. So I've driven to Dallas before. I think I could find my way.
That reminds me, what did JFK say to you?
We were actually talking about, a friend and I were talking about a book that he wrote. And he was actually talking about Lee Harvey Oswald. And I didn't know whether to like stand up or sit down or put makeup on. I was eating crackers in my bed wearing pajamas. So I just stood up next to the bed. I didn't know what to do. I was like, hello, So, but he was just talking about how they've seen each other and things like that.
Yeah, it's amazing, some of this stuff. One of the things I want to do is I want to go down to Dealey Plaza and go down where he actually got shot with some equipment, see if I can get voice recordings and see if I can get some K2 meters going.
Yes.
I know I get some K2 meters going. Mikey said on a show, I think it was your show the other day, when he said you could throw Rick out of a boat and he'd go to the bottom of the ocean and he'd get 5 lights on the bottom.
Yes, he would. They do love to play with you.
They know I'm lonely. I really think that's part of it because I'm always by myself. I think they every once in a while say, let's talk to this guy.
Well, because you have the gift of gab yourself. And so they just like talking to you.
That would be it. He does.
I just wish that you could hear him.
I actually talk a lot. Trust me, I know. As I tell people all the time, I can turn hello into a mini series.
Well, I just I think we could do more than a mini series. We could do a real series.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Well, I think we're going to have a whole bunch of stuff for you to show all your people when we get back, because we're going to be filming and droning a lot of Cat Hobson ghost hunting at some of the most iconic locations in Scotland. So you're going to want to pay attention to this show right here, so you get to see what happened.
Oh my goodness, that is you're hired.
Should I have done that?
Oh, man.
Should I have done that with my commercial voice?
But we are going to go to some of the most iconic locations. We're going to we're planning Bannockburn House if that pans out. We're going to be leading a ghost hunt at Balgony Castle with Scottish Paranormal. So come investigate with the Americans. We'll have fun. Yeah. But there's
Castle Menzies Temple, the Knights Templar headquarters. That's the word I was looking for. There's going to be some great places. We're going to try and get out to what is the name of that? Culloden Battlefield.
Culloden Battlefield. I really want to be out there one night.
Yeah, we're going to try and get there.
I'm glad that we're going to spend time in Roslyn, because I want to go into those cemeteries again, because now I have a thermal imaging camera, and I think that would be so much fun there.
That brings up a question for Heather. if you go into a graveyard, do you get a lot of voices, or is it just?
Yes. So graveyard sounds like a football stadium.
Oh my gosh, I bet it does.
Yeah, it's terrible. And you know, like whenever I went to New Mexico during this past September, and we were somewhere and like the Native Americans, it was just I was trying to do a reading for somebody and I just couldn't hear. I had to wait till I got home to do it for them because it was just so much. I couldn't concentrate on someone's voice. They just all wanted to speak and you know.
See, I think that's one of the things that people like when I was trying to explain how good you were to Kat, is that we don't know what it's like to be you.
No.
You know, we can understand that you hear things and stuff, but we don't understand there's other stuff going on. There's people stopping by, passers-by, there's dogs talking to you. There's,
Yeah.
you know, it's fascinating. And I think you absolutely showed your skills tonight with what you told Race and what you told Lori.
And I know that was not what you intended to do based on our conversation. So I am just simply going to say thank you so much because Race really needed that. And Race is a very dear human. And so that was so special.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That they came through.
My pleasure.
And
My pleasure.
I'm glad that you opened yourself up to that. So we're just out of time. I have to tell you that this has been the best show. They're all the best shows, but this has been fun. And I am so thankful. Heather, tell people again how to find you.
Heather Besser on Facebook, mediumheatherbesser@gmail.com. And you can always ask Kat.
You can ask me too. I know how
and
to
Rick.
find
Yeah, they can always,
find
either one of these fine people right here can get you in touch with me.
Absolutely. And I would be glad to, because if this is something that you're interested in doing, this is who I would do it with. I never endorse people because I have friends that do all the things and a lot of people do the same things. But out of all the people in all the years that I've been doing these shows, Heather, you're the only one who has really presented me with proof that I find infallible and information that's not out there, that there's no way you could have researched. And you really are the real deal. Rick,
And
you're currently real deal.
You know what's so nice? She doesn't sell herself at all.
No.
At all. She just sits there and says, yeah, I just heard this. I just heard that. So, I mean, it's not like a lot of these psychic mediums or psychics that I've seen that do nothing but commercials while you're talking to them, you know? So it's so nice to hear somebody that's just down to earth and says, oh, I just heard this.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yay.
I am just thankful. So we are out. It is time. Thank you so much for everyone listening. Don't forget, Wednesday night, Paranormal Experience with Kat Hobson. Same cat time, same cat channel. And we'll see you next week on Fate 2. Y'all be sure and come. Good night.